So another presidential candidate, Nkosazana Dlamini-Zuma, is on a different platform, and she had very harsh words for opponents of radical economic transformation. Let's take a listen into what she had to say.
And we shouldn't be apologetic. And I take exception to what Johan Rupert said, that radical economic transformation means it's a code for theft. I think we should condemn that in the strongest of terms. Coming from people who took our land, coming from people who are monopolizing the economy today.
Now we're joined in studio by MKMVA NEC member Carl Niehaus to discuss more on this. Carl, very good evening to you. Thank you for joining us. I saw you chuckling there a few seconds ago as we were listening to Matthew's Pause's SOT on radical economic transformation. Clearly you don't agree with that. How do you think his stance on particularly that radical economic transformation policy will affect his campaign and his chances of becoming the ANC president?
Well, I'm afraid he's not doing himself any favors. And the reason why I chuckled was that I had to wonder whether Comrade Matthews Pauser was perhaps not so busy in 2012 in Mangaung with his then failed campaign that he didn't listen to what the ANC comrades in that conference were saying. Because we adopted a resolution in that conference specifically and officially calling for radical economic transformation. The definition, which he also says he doesn't know what it means, is very clear. It is the fundamental power relations that must change in our economy in a manner that it will in fact empower the majority of the black people in South Africa and especially African people. And it very specifically refers to the kind of economy that we have in South Africa, and that is a monopoly capital economy that is overwhelmingly supported, managed, and in fact overpowering the black majority by white people. So it is white monopoly capital. It is nothing less than that.
Yeah, but Pauser says, there's no context to this term, radical economic transformation. In fact, he cites many countries and what he says politicians that have tried to change what he calls natural dynamics of capital or economy of any country, and they have failed. Do you think he's referring to the policy itself being a failure, or just really that not being in existence, the issue of the economy being tilted to one side of the race in this country?
Well, I just gave you the definition of what radical economic transformation is, and Comrade Matthews says that he doesn't know what it is. So he obviously hasn't read our own policy documents. The content for radical economic transformation is very clearly spelled out by Dr. Nkosazana Dlamini-Zuma at each one of our meetings. She refers to the need to have land restitution without compensation. She refers to the need to change the current mandate of the Reserve Bank and to make sure that it is not a so-called independent institution, but that it is specifically there to empower the majority of black and especially African people and make sure that their lives will be improved by the policies of the governing party, which is the African National Congress. Radical economic transformation also talks very clearly to the transformation of our big monopoly financial institutions, the banks and the insurance companies. So there is a clear set of policies that has to be implemented. The issue that we have, and Dr. Nkosazana Dlamini-Zuma had said it many times, is that while the policy is clear, the need for implementation is urgent. And her whole campaign is premised on the understanding that the time has arrived right now for the implementation of that policy. That is why her campaign slogan is radical economic transformation now or never. And she states very clearly.
Yeah, but
but let me just make this point, because it's very important. She states very clearly that no one should fear radical economic transformation. In fact, we should fear the current levels of inequality and the problems that is raised by that huge gap of inequality. Radical economic transformation will help us to bring political stability and a future for all the people of South Africa.
And yet, just going back to our reporter that we spoke to a few minutes ago, it appears he's receiving, at least from Mpumalanga province, he's getting, warm greetings and popularity with regards to his campaign. And yet he stands with his issues to do with radical economic transformation and what he believes of it. This issue continues to be very divisive when it comes to the ANC. Going into the elective conference, how do you think this will pan out?
Well, let me say our people are friendly people, so they will give every candidate a warm welcome. That doesn't mean that it translates into a vote for that candidate. I believe that the ANC members of the branches will take a very careful look at what the comrades are saying who stand as candidates for the presidency of the ANC. And they will carefully assess whether the policies that those comrades have will truly bring the implementation of the second phase of the National Democratic Revolution. And the candidate who is the clearest about that, who talks in every one of his speeches about radical economic transformation, and who translates it into practical policy proposals with regards to women, with regards to young people. Just a few days ago, she spoke so clearly and eloquently about the need for free education, especially up to the first university degree. Very clear positions that has been taken. I don't get that from someone like Comrade Matthews Pauza. In fact, I'm very confused when he says he doesn't know what it means.
Taking a stand on being all for radical economic transformation is one thing, but putting policies into place, making it practical for people on the ground to understand how the ANC is going to champion this is a different animal altogether, isn't it? Nkosazana Dlamini Zuma has been very clear about where she stands when it comes to radical economic transformation, but do you think during her campaign she's been able to articulate exactly what needs to be done for this policy to be put into practice?
Well, I just spelled it out. She said that the Reserve Bank mandate has to be changed. She talked about free education. And
how do you get to that? That's saying what needs to be done. But what needs to be done for free education to happen? That's what I'm asking. Has she pronounced that?
Well, she's talked very clearly that it is necessary for us to follow resolutions also through Parliament that will make it possible for the finances to be made available for that to be possible for students. So there's a clear intention that we will pass legislation in order to deal with that. Okay. Also with regards to the issue of land reform and land restitution without compensation. Again, there will have to be legislative processes to follow. Whether that will be in terms of being necessary to change the constitution or not can be debated. But legislation will have to change. But what is most important is that we need a president who is committed to take those steps, not someone just to talk about it, but who actually says, I'm going to do this because I believe that this is the only way that we will have a fair and stable society. Right. And she is exactly committing to
Carl,
that.
I'm going to ask you to hold on to that thought as we take a look at other people that are in the presidential race within the ANC. The minister in the presidency, Jeff Radebe, says he is ready to accept the nomination for the ANC top job. Radebe says it is the branches of the ANC that will have the ultimate say in the race. Radebe says there is no ANC tradition that dictates who should be the next ANC leader. However, he points out that he has not been involved in any divisive talk in his quest for leadership. Radebe is one of the 7 candidates so far that have shown interest in taking over from President Jacob Zuma. Meanwhile, there are 2 clear frontrunners in the race for the presidency, and it now remains to be seen who the ANC branches will elect at the December National Conference.
No. I have not involved myself in any manner by my words or my action that can be construed to being divisive in the organization. I'm a disciplined cadre of this organization in good standing. I've been in this organization for almost 40 years. I've been in structures from the branch until the National Executive Committee, being the head of policy, as well as the chairperson of the National Disciplinary Committee of Appeals. What guides me is the constitution of the ANC that indicates that members of the ANC, as I've said, can be able to nominate and be elected. So that is the position. There's no culture, there's no tradition about it. It is the constitution of the ANC.
But the branch that invited Radebe is not committing to backing him as a presidential candidate.
Well, the branch has not yet set its branch general meeting, so we have not yet taken a position. But what I can say and affirm is that the The branch one is the slates that are moving up and down that we see. We will have our BGM, but in essence, we'll find a person that will be able to unify the ANC, because we feel, one, it is very important that we do get a unifier, a person that will be able to bring all the 7 candidates together and everyone rallies behind the program of the African National Congress. No, the ANC has been ready to elect a female president for the longest time now. So I do not think really the issue of presidency must be gender orientated. We need to have a person now that will be able to lead the organization regarding the current challenges that we're confronted with. So it is very important that our main mission must be to find a person that will be able to unify the ANC. Now this goes beyond gender orientation.
Now, still joining me in studio is Mr. Carl Niehaus from the Mkhonto weSizwe Military Veterans Association, NEC member. Carl, thank you for staying with us. So we have another horse in the race. Jeff Radebe is a long-standing member of the ANC from when he was very young, from working underground before the democracy. Does it really have support, do you think?
Well, I'm not going to pronounce on whether Comrade Jeff has support or not, because that is ultimately for him to judge in terms of the support that he gets from the branches. What I do know is that Comrade Nkosazana Dlamini Zuma has overwhelming support. I've been traveling with her through the length and the breadth of this country. Every hall that we've been into have been full. We have been talking radical economic transformation to all these branch members, and we concentrate our campaign specifically on the branches and the regions, because ultimately it is about the democratic empowerment of the members of the ANC at branch level. This is what it is all about. And
right.
That is why Dr. Nkosazana Dlamini Zuma also recently issued a statement saying that any attempt to subvert the democratic processes, any attempt to use violence or any other action to avoid the branch members from being able to carry out the democratic vote is unacceptable, and she stands against it. And I also would like to emphasize that she's been very clear that she's not going to, in a negative way, attack any of the other candidates. She doesn't want a negative campaign. What we want is a contestation, not between enemies, but between comrades, where the contestation will provide clarity about what the candidates stand for, so that ultimately the branches can decide on the basis of that clarity who will be the best candidate.
So going forward, it is obvious at this point, or perhaps not, that the two front runners would be Nkosazana Dlamini Zuma and Cyril Ramaphosa. We have the likes of Jeff Radebe. Do you think in the long run, as the process progresses, they will start perhaps dropping off?
Well, I don't know. That is, again, decisions that these candidates have to take, and it is for them to decide how they want to use their time. What I'm clear about, and what the campaign of Dr. Nkosazana Dlamini Zuma is clear about, is that there's overwhelming support for her candidature. It is based on her long history as a liberation fighter, on her huge experience in government through 3 ministries and also as the chairperson of the Organization of African Union. So she has all the ability, she has all the skills. And we are clear, and the branches are telling us that they believe that she is the best candidate, not first and foremost because she's a woman, but because she is the best candidate.
Yeah, but Carl, do you think there's a speculation that some candidates have been thrown in there to derail certain campaigns, perhaps to divide the votes? Just very quickly, what are your thoughts on that?
Well, I hope that candidates will not allow themselves to be abused like that, because that is an abuse of the democratic process. In fact, all the candidates must make sure that they help to enhance the democratic process of the African National Congress.
Well,
There's
Carl,
nothing wrong.
I appreciate you just giving us your insight on that. Thank you so very much for your time. We have to go to the Eastern Cape now, where the ANC race is also continuing. It is home to scores of leaders of the liberation movement, particularly the ANC. But some of those legends remain unsung heroes. Nomusa Pungula Father's report. The second largest province in the ANC has a number of leaders that have long embodied the strength and leadership that the ANC stands for.
I think there are many prominent leaders, the unsung heroes, who play a vital role in terms of liberation in this country. You had some people here in the Eastern Cape like Nceba Faku, Thwabe Ndube, and many others who have played a role to make sure the country attains such kind of a liberation.
Legends die, but their legacy lives on, and the role played by many of those struggle heroes lingers in the province.
Then ke ngoku early 60s kwakhola into yoba umbutho uyabhenishwa. Sesiyazi kuba ke yabhenishwa kudala yona inantsika i-SACP. Kodwa umbutho nawo uyabhenishwa. Bacabeke ngoizinto zonke mazingene underground. Ngabikho nto kwabhenishwa ne-meetings of so many people. Kwafuneka ngokusenze i-meetings of about 12 or 5, not more. So ezo meeting as a ANC bezisurrounda i-branch ezinga. Come to i-branch ezi-7, branch ezi-5 or so. Mazilidishwe ngumuntu omnye kuthiwa ke chief steward. So zenzekile ke ezo zinto ndijongile ne. Then ke mna ke kwezi branches bendingena njani? Bendingena xana bona besenza i-report. Mna ndiye ngoyakuqokelela imali le ibithunyelwe kuma-volunteer nayo zokwenza ingxelo yawo apha kwi-chief steward. So yaqhubekeka ke lo underground njalo. So ke sade ke saqakuba ke ngoku siyabana.
With many strides made by the province, the political joys have been hampered by infighting, factions and misguided leadership. This has undermined the impact that the forefathers have had on the organization.
Well, the disjuncture in the ANC, especially after the unbanning, emanated from the fact that when the senior leaders were released first, they came out of prison. The rest of the comrades that were leading the mass democratic movement were behind bars, okay? And then these leaders, when they came out, they connected back with the people they knew. Unfortunately, most of those people were not actually actives. Most of those were outside, okay? Because everyone who had ANC connections and was active was behind bars.
There was a lot of opportunities for national politicians to intervene in Port Elizabeth or in Nelson Mandela Bay and the Eastern Cape in a way that guaranteed the sustainability of the party. But in all those opportunities or in all those instances that national politicians and provincial politicians intervened here, they sought to influence outcomes or to rearrange local politics in a way that best suits a factional objective.
The ANC has given birth to many heroes, and even in the midst of challenges, they've always been able to overcome. One wonders whether this political hub of the ANC can manage to continue to weather the many storms it has faced.
Eastern Cape, the home of legends and the home of political resistance, has become a far cry politically and remains less developed. The question remains, what corrective measures will the ANC take to restore the dignity the province deserves? Nomusa Pungula for ANN7, Mloteni, Port Elizabeth.
And finally, before we end the show, here's this week's poll question. Is the ANC ready to elect the first female president in 105 years? You can respond on our website at that's ANN7.com, or you can go to our Facebook page, our Twitter pages at ANN7TV, or you can take part in our manual survey that is in your area. Also, you can catch the repeat at 7:30 p.m. or at 8:30 a.m. tomorrow morning. Well, thank you very much for watching the program. You're at home and participating in our Twitter handle at ANN7TV. Remember the repeat once again at 7:30 p.m. tonight in case you missed anything. A huge thank you to my guest, Carl Niehaus. That's the NEC member of the Mkhonto Wesizwe Military Veterans Association. Thank you, Carl.